Hi, we are the Florence family. After arriving in Papua New Guinea in February of 2014, we were blessed to spend our first year in the remote mountain regions of the Gulf Province, working with veteran missionaries and learning the national trade language of Melanesian Talk Pidgin. At the beginning of our second year in the country, the Lord led us to the town of Kiunga in the North Fly region of the Western Province. Kiunga is strategically located so that folks from all over the Western Province come here for banking, education, healthcare, work, and transportation. It has the only seaport, commercial airstrip, hospital, high schools, and bank in this region, as well as the government offices for the whole Western Province. The traditional beliefs and superstitions are still strongly held in this area. Speaking to the bodies of deceased relatives and maintaining the traditional dances is still widely practiced. For the cause of advancing the gospel of Christ and planting churches in this area. They graciously allowed us to live in the church parsonage while we looked for the land upon which to start our first church plant. While working with him, I was able to invest my efforts into various ministries in the church and community. The youths in Papua New Guinea are very active. However, it is very difficult to reach the 16 to 30-year-old young men. Some of the other outreaches I organized were our preaching in the local jail, preaching and house fellowships in the suburbs, preaching at the local hospital, the elementary schools, and the local high schools. This is the largest high school in the area, with over 600 students. I was given the cafeteria to preach in every week. Another great door was opened to us through hosting an evangelistic crusade. We brought 2 spirit-filled evangelists from the U.S. and held services on the same rugby field where the townsfolk were earlier performing the dances of their ancestors who knew nothing of the God of the Bible. God miraculously blessed with more visitors each night. The last 3 nights of the meeting, we met in the church parking lot and had over 300 our last night in attendance. The following Sunday, 22 precious folks came forward to profess that they had put their faith in Jesus Christ during this week. You can see that God used us, and through our combined efforts, the church has gloriously outgrown their previous building. I also led a group of the young men in the Bible school in evangelistic outreaches every week, which included those things as well as preaching and witnessing in the streets. An amazing door was opened to us to minister in the more remote villages. Some of them were only available by dinghy and some by plane. One particular trip was to the Suki region, which was over 18 hours of grueling travel by river. God allowed me to preach and witness in 6 different villages on that trip, and we were overjoyed to see many responses to the gospel. Some of the closer villages, my whole family was able to accompany me, although our last 2 years in Kiunga, we focused much attention on starting a ministry training school. Western Baptist Bible School officially started with our first students in August of 2016. Through much prayer and work and the generous giving of God's people, the Lord provided 12 acres of land on the outskirts of Kiunga town for us to use for our future ministry. We plan to use this property to build more dormitories, a classroom, our own housing, as well as the home of our church plant. You can see the driveway we had graded just before we left, which leads to the location of where we plan to build our house upon our return this October. We plan to purchase a steel frame house because the durability against rot and the problems we have had with termites in our home. We have been overjoyed to see how God has blessed this ministry. In September of 2018, we saw 9 young men receive their certificates. By God's grace, 5 of those young men are even now going out into their own Jerusalem with the desire to reach this world with the glorious gospel of Jesus Christ.